Hello, everybody, and welcome to another free Friday training in our group From Blank Page to Bestseller. And like always, we've got another personality here who's an award-winning author. She's a multiple times award-winning leading expert in empowering introverts, which really is the hook for me, because we're going to talk to Trish Springsteen today, who helps introverts not become extroverts, but come out and reveal their true selves and be able to bring that person that's within you come out. And isn't that right, Trish?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just going to, Trish has an incredible bio, which I'm actually going to read out because I'll never remember all this. So Trish Springsteen is a creative business consultant in Australia, and she's the leading expert in empowering introverts. She is also a multi-international award-winning mentor, speaker, and a best-selling author. Now, Trish, like I said, mentors introverts, authors, advocates, and she believes in you until you believe in yourself. And that's really powerful. Trish is passionate about creating confident communicators and is the co-founder and owner of Trishelle. You can reach out to Trish through her website, trishspringsteen.com. And we will give you all the links to her social media in the post so that you can reach out to her. And it doesn't matter if you're an author or not, Trish will train you in whatever area of work that you do. So welcome, Trish. It's wonderful to have you here. And
absolutely delighted, Shoma. Absolutely.
Oh, it's lovely. The other thing I forgot to say was that in 2 days' time, Trish and I are co-authoring a book called The Power of Why, which is an amazing compilation with 23 women who have, who've taken that step to come out and reveal that the raw their inside story about how they overcame barriers to step up and step out into the world. And they're now 23 amazing entrepreneurs. So we will give the link in that to that book as well, which you can buy and join as authors on the 15th of August. So that's 2 days from now. That's wonderful. So Trish, can I ask you first, what started you on this journey? And how did you, come upon this introvert? I'm an introvert. I'm a horrible introvert. And I have trouble, coming out and speaking because all I want to do is bury my head and write and not ever show my face to the public. So, tell us.
Oh, awesome. Look, my journey's been a quite long one. It started what I call way back in the Jurassic period, which is a long, long time ago, people, when I left high school. And at that time, not only was I an introvert, but I was extremely shy. And if you were to speak to anybody who knew me then and said to them, look what Trish is doing now, they'd probably roll around on the floor laughing because it wasn't me. I did not get up and speak. I didn't, I was quite happy being nicely by myself. My work situations, I was pretty good at work. I used to delegate anything that required speaking or avoid it. Absolutely. So how did I get from there to here? Well, it's an interesting journey. And some of it was just basically serendipity. We moved from our previous place. We used to live in Canberra, which is the capital. And then we moved up to Brisbane. It was a very quick decision. Brought the family up, away from all my own family, just us. And we'd been there about 2 years. And I remember thinking, wow, all we're doing is getting up, taking the kids to school, going to work, rushing around. And we hadn't been making any friends, which, was okay, but we really needed to expand. So I was 10-pin bowling, amazingly enough, with a friend. And I was sort of saying, oh, I need to make some friends. And this person said, well, why don't you come along to this group? It's the club I'm in. You can make friends. I thought, well, that sounds good. I can do that. He didn't tell me. He did not tell me that it was a Toastmasters club. He did not tell me that I was expected to speak and that I would be been asked to get up and speak immediately that first meeting. I was not very impressed, I can tell you. The funny thing is, I stayed. And I came back and I stayed again. And that was probably the first step on my journey to coming out from being so shy. I am still an introvert. I'm an introvert who knows how to harness my energy to be where I have to be known, be seen when I need to be. And that journey's come through finding mentors, through working on mindset, through coming to believing in myself. And that's one of the things I'm very passionate about is you need to believe in yourself. Because when you believe in who you are and believe in your message, wherever it is that you are, then that's when you become extremely powerful and you can really start your journey. So that's where I was. And with that, I ended up doing a lot of leadership in that club. I ended up being the district governor for looking after the 3,500 volunteers. And that's an interesting exercise and a little story in itself. From there, I opened up my own business and I've had ups and downs. I've explored my own mindset and got to where I am now through a lot of help, a lot of mentoring, and a lot of believing in myself.
Wow. So it was just a chance meeting at a Toastmasters that got you here. And so how did you get to books then? So how did you start writing books?
Now that's a really good question. When we started my business, which is about 2006, 2007, I started it with a business partner, friend of mine. And we did our first book about 2 years afterwards and made every mistake you could possibly make with a book. Never having done it before, didn't know what we were doing, but we had been sort of said, you know, some of our mentors said, you need a book for credibility in your business. And we're doing a lot of corporate work. So we thought, okay. Now, being rather lazy people, my business friend and I, we thought, how do we get a book quickly? And this is the only thing we did right. We'd been writing our blogs for about 3 years. So what we thought was, we'll go to our blogs and we each picked a number of blogs that we liked, our favorite ones for the year. We tweaked the titles, we tweaked a little bit and we put them together and we have this awesome book. And then of course we trusted a publisher. Not knowing anything about publishing at that time, we paid this publisher an exorbitant amount of money, about $10,000 at that time, and trusted that the publisher knew what they were doing. And so we trusted him with the title, trusted him with the book cover, because we didn't know what we were doing. So he said to us, what do you want to call it? We thought, I don't know, something like this, expecting him to come back and say, okay, we need to change that, it'll be a better title. What sort of cover do you want? We thought, well, this is something about it, but expecting him, he said he had lots of graphic artists to come back and say, well, let's have a look at this cover. No, he just took everything we said, put it all together, printed it like that, and gave us a whole lot of books that have a terrible cover, an awful title, but absolutely freakingly awesome information. So it's one of the stories I share that you don't have to be perfect. Now, fast forward, about 5 years ago, my business partner and I parted company amicably, and I suddenly realized, I had to write. I mean, I'd been helping to write the blogs up to then, but I thought, well, I've got to do all the blogs. So I got my head around that and I did that. But you see, I had this mindset. I had this mindset that I couldn't write. I was not the writer. My business partner was the writer. I just helped do some writing every now and then. I worked on my speaking, so that was all I need. I thought that was pretty good. Then I got asked to contribute a chapter to a book. Now, the book was in America and they asked me to contribute this chapter. And my very first thought was, no, wait, I'm not doing this. I'm not a writer. Go away. I wasn't going to do that. And then they came back and asked me again. And about there, I had this aha moment. My passion is helping people to get known, be seen. My passion is helping people to stand up and share their message and not be selfish. And I suddenly realized, you know what, Trish, you better walk your talk. You can't say no to this. I thought, that's okay. I can do it. It's in America. No one in Australia is going to read this. So if it's an awful chapter, not a problem. They did. People in Australia actually read it and they liked it. I got some good. So that was about 5 years ago. Since then, I am the co-author, contributing author, and author of, well, now I'm up to 17 books. And of those, that was done in the last, I'd say 15 of those books have been done in the last 5 years. That 60 seconds of insane courage I took to say, yes, I'll do that chapter, was the first hole in my brick wall of I couldn't write, because I had no excuse after that. I'd written a chapter, it was accepted, and I had to realize that I could do that. I had to write. So I did. I got hooked on it, basically. So I do a lot of writing now. What I realized was that for me, I just take my spoken word, channel it down through my hands, and that's what I write. So all of my books, all my chapters that I write, it's exactly the way I talk. It's a conversation I have with people. And that's how I got to where I'm writing.
Wow, that's amazing. And that's a nice segue into my next question is, when you write, because you said that you'd never considered writing before, but was sort of, pushed into it, do you have any kind of formula, or do you structure your chapters, or is it just, are you a pantster and just, type on the keyboard, like you said, you talk, so you just channel, or do you have any structure? But this is a question that a lot of my readers, browsers, viewers ask, is how do we get started? Where do we begin? We've got all this information. How do we all put it together in a...
There are many journeys to arrive at that answer. And it's not one size fits all. People, it's not. Everybody has their way. They'll find their way. They'll find the best way that works for them to be able to get where they need to do with their book. So a couple of things I talk about. For me, I just write. I don't really have I don't plan. I don't know. The closest I come to planning, and it's something that I work with a lot of my mentor clients when I'm helping them to take that step. I sort of say to people, if you do 500 words a day for 30 days, that's 15,000 words. That is the basis of a reasonable size book. And when you break it down into small chunks like that, it doesn't become so hard. One of my favorite quotes to people is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you write your book? One page at a time, 500 words at a time. Because what stops a lot of people is that overwhelming feeling that there's this book and it's got 170 pages, 250 pages, 30,000 words. I can't do it. But if you say, I'm just going to do 500 words a day. Now, 500 words a day is not very many. It's a short blog. It's just maybe half an hour. And if you put that time aside and just sit down and say, I'm just going to do 500 words and just write whatever you want to write. For me, I don't structure chapters because I'm not a structured person in that respect. It would confine me. I just sit down and write, and I fix it up later. I have a broad idea what I'm going to say, and I might know I'm going to put that, but I'll fix the chapters up, do the editing, the grammar later. I just get it out there. Now, there are several ways for people to write. That's my way. Some people prefer to be a little bit more structured, so they'll plan. And I said, that's fine. If you want to know, you need to sort of have an idea of what you want to write about. Is it going to be a memoir? Is it going to be an information book? Is it a motivational book, an inspirational book? And some people would like to answer some questions. They might put some chapters out and say, I'm going to talk about this in this chapter, and then fill it out from there. And they might structure that out. And that works for a lot of people. One of the things that I helped people do when I was doing one of my other compilations was someone wanted to put a chapter but didn't want to write. I had a hard time writing. So we sat down and she spoke, and we just transcribed it straight onto a Word document. So I asked her questions, she answered and shared her story, and then we fixed the chapter up. So you can just tape yourself, get it transcribed, use one of those voice-to-text ones, which Word have, and you can just speak and it comes out on that. So if that works for you, that's awesome. And for some people, that is the best way to do it. They can speak their story and then sort it out. Now, one of the other things that you can do with getting a story out there, you don't have to start from scratch. You can go and have, and this is my two favorite words, are repurpose and leverage. And if you've got a blog, do exactly what we did with our first book. Go to your blog. Look at all the blogs that might be similar. Take those blogs, put them together as chapters, change the title of the chapter a little bit, change some words to be current, and you've got a book very, very quickly. There are many, many ways to get your book without having to start from scratch. Look at the gold nuggets that you have already within yourself, on your computer, and see how you could do that. If you have been doing what I did 2 years of a blog talk radio, I hosted a blog talk radio. It was live for 2 years, about 180 episodes approximately. And what I am doing at the moment is getting each of those episodes transcribed. And it'll be about 4 books. And it'll be Conversations with Trish. Repurpose and leverage. So if you've got a blog, think about what you've got there. If you'd love to do videos, go back to your videos, transcribe them, put them together. There are many journeys to get to your book. The best way to do is to start and is to believe in yourself, and don't be selfish. Don't let your fear, your uncertainty about starting your book stop you from sharing a message that someone out there needs to read. Just take a deep breath, pick a way that works for you, and just start.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's my tools. Just start, because without anything written, you're not going to get anything out. So you're not going to get a book. So and in today's world, like, there are so many apps which weren't available to us when I was a journalist. All we had was, a keyboard. Before that, it was a typewriter, and we had to plug in these headphones and use a pedal to transcribe. But today, you can do it on Google Docs. You can do it with apps like Otter. You can send it off to rev.com and get it transcribed. And so it's amazing what you can do. Like, you can have a book within a week if you wanted to put in that kind of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you come from a speaking background and you became an author. So I'm going to ask you, because turn it around, authors and writers who write, really, we are a species, we're a funny kind of beast. We don't want to get in front of the camera. We don't want to get in front of the public, get up. It's wonderful to sit there and bury your head and write a book and be out in nature, do all these solitary things. But when it comes to the book launch, I find a lot of my clients, including me, I just hate getting up and talking about my book. To me, it's just read it and leave me alone. Buy it if you like. But that's not today's world. Every author has to market their books, and even large publishing companies are, drawing away from marketing. They'll do all the rest for you, but they leave most of the marketing to yourself. And that's where I think someone like you, who's a motivational speaker plus a coach and an author, comes in, because you understand what it's like. So my question to you is, authors need visibility in the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
My first question is, when do they start? Do they start when they're writing the book, or do they start when they finish the book? So, and then I'll ask my second question after that.
Okay. They start when they're writing the book. The best part of marketing, and also it has a lovely side benefit of being great for accountability, is to tell people that you're going to write a book. And for those who are a bit worried about starting, as soon as you tell people that you're going to write a book, you've planted seeds. And then the accountability comes, because they'll come up to you and say, how's the book going, Trish? How are you going? When is it coming out? And about that time, you suddenly realize, oh my gosh, I can't back off. I've got to do this book. So planting some seeds out there and letting people know is the first step in marketing a book. It's absolute. And you do it from the beginning. Now, you're writing your book, you start putting out little teasers. Now, I'm not saying you have to speak every day about it or every week about it or it just means that as you're writing that book, Just let people know what's happening, how you're going. Just keep them aware, because what you're doing, you're starting to build interest. You're starting to build teasing. You're starting to build a following. And that is where it's important, because when it comes time for when you go for your book, wow, you've got people who have really been there with you. They've been there as you've been going along. You've been sharing little bits and snippets and stories, and you've got that accountability, which is awesome to help people get there. And you've got that interest that you've been building. Like you would share your first, share maybe the first few words. You would share, wow, I did 1,000 words today. Wow, I was really on that. Oh, you would share, this is the cover that I'm thinking of. Wow, what do you think? This is the title that I'm thinking of. Now, sharing your cover and title at that stage doesn't mean to say that you're locked into that. It just means you are connecting with people and letting them be part of your journey. Now, that's sort of the real marketing. I mean, it's one of my things is helping people. I work a lot with authors. I have a book marketing club, and I work a lot with authors to leverage their book once they've written it. And this is some of the things I sort of say to them as they're going along. And in there, I have people who are actually writing their book as well as those who have finished. When it comes to speaking, you know, this book is yours. And I guess this addresses marketing as well. No one knows your book as well as you do. It's scary. It's like, I call it like having a baby. You have your baby and then you just want to sit there and say, oh my God, I've got my baby. I'm so excited. I love seeing people's faces when they open their boxes the first time they get their book in their hand. It's unbelievably awesome. There's tingles that go up my back. But what happens is, do you really want to be selfish? And I know that sounds very harsh, but just think about it. Keeping your book to yourself, keeping your book on your shelf or in your book boxes is actually being selfish. Because the people who need to read your book, they're not going to find it in your boxes. They're not going to find it on your shelves. They're not going to find it on your computer. They may hack their way through the wilderness and stumble across it on your website, if you've got a website and you've put it up there. They may stumble through the wilderness and find it up on Amazon if you've put it up as a Kindle, perhaps. So why are we making it hard for the people that will need to read our book? Why are we making it hard for them to find you? And this is where it comes of having 60 seconds of insane courage and speaking about your book. Stepping up and saying, look, this is my book. I want to share it with you because I know there could be one word, a paragraph, a chapter in that book that someone out there needs to read because it could change their life. So don't be selfish and let your fear of speaking, let your fear of the unknown, let being your natural inclination to just hang on to it and hold on to it and stay there because you've just written it and you're not going to share it because why would you want me to do that? You should just find it. It's not going to happen. Believe me, I know. I'm an introvert. I am still an introvert. Getting out there and speaking sometimes takes a lot of energy, but I do it because I know. I know that I don't want to be selfish. I know that somewhere out there is someone who needs to hear those few words, to read those few words. And if I don't get up there and shine the light and say, hey, here I am, and make it easy for those people to find me, then the chances of them finding me could be really hard. And I don't want to be like that because that could stop someone from maybe writing their book. It could stop someone from maybe opening their business. It could stop someone from changing a mindset. And who am I to do that? Because I'm afraid to step up and speak about my book. So get some speaking skills. Share it out there. Stand out. There are a lot of authors out there, but there's not you. And it's not your book. So you need to get up and talk about your book because only you can do it in the best way.
That's so powerful. And, you know, all that you said about even the pre-marketing that people, you know, show those little book covers, show what you're doing, because that's so powerful because people are curious. Everyone wants to know what's going on behind the scenes, you know, what happened, and that they shared the journey with the author as they were. You know, there's an Australian author, Natasha Lester. She's West Australian. I don't know if she writes fiction. And she does this really well. So when she was writing a book called The Paris Seamstress, she was on there. She was, so all her research that she was doing with the gowns and, you know, all the designer stuff, she would, and even her little sketches, she would put it up on social media and say, hey, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've researched, this is what I found. So for whatever months it took her to write the book, she was taking her readers through that journey as well. And of course, what do you think happens when it publishes? We all go and grab the book and buy it.
Yep.
So what a wonderful way to do that.
It is. It's awesome. It's like
And it doesn't look like marketing at all, because, you know, that's what I'm so scared of. And a lot of authors in our community as well. We've got a number of people now who are writing and going through some of my courses who are going to publish very shortly. And one of their biggest questions is, you know, we don't want to sound salesy and say, buy my book, buy my book.
It's not.
First-time authors.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't have to. All you got to do is say, look, I'm so excited. I'm sharing my book with you. I'm sharing my journey with you. This is, yeah, and just let your excitement and how genuine you are about what you're writing. And it doesn't matter whether it's fiction, non-fiction, poetry, children's book. It doesn't matter what sort of books that you're writing. Let people see your passion for it and why you're writing it. And they're just going to naturally want to be on that journey with you. And they're naturally wanting to see, well, what was the end result? I've been here. I've heard so much little bits and pieces about it. I don't say you have to flood them, but you just need to invite them to be there. And you're not saying, buy my book. You're just saying, come on the journey with me. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And I'm going to ask a question now, which is, you know, naturally led up to this. And this is something that I know a lot of our viewers are going to want me to ask you is, do you have a step-by-step process? So these people that I just mentioned who are about to publish their first books are going to wonder, you know, what is the Trish is saying, yes, we need to get up and speak or, you know, be visible. But does she take us through a step-by-step process, or how does she push us out there into the world? How do we push ourselves out into the world?
Yeah, I do have a process. I actually have a checklist. I'm quite happy to, post it into the, when this goes up, I'll post it in there. It's a little checklist about getting a book out there off the shelves during you're writing it and after you've written it. There's little points about things to think about and do. But one of the things I work with people and help them with is how to be able to get up and speak. So I take you through a speaking journey. We look at constructing a speech, how to get over those nerves of speaking, how to harness your passion about your book and share it. So all the little basics of that. Then we look at, where do we need to take this? And yes, video today is trending. So doing little video things about this, like this, or just little Facebook Lives about sharing your book. I help you work through how to do some of that. Look at some of the technology, how to get up and do a Facebook Live and speak. I also show you there's technology where you can showcase your book without you having to be there. So you can do lovely little things. And one of my favorites is Lumen 5. It's Lumen with the number 5. And you can take a snippet from your book, post it up into there. They'll add some pictures, or you can upload your own, especially maybe a picture of the cover, a few of the words, add a little bit of music, and you can have a 1-minute video in no word of a lie, about 5 to 10 minutes, that you can post everywhere about your book. Now that is a real basic one. There's some other apps and software which are all about how to get your book out there. So it's sharing it on your social media, doing little memes, sharing bits and tips, getting some speaking skills to help you feel comfortable about doing some video. When we can do more face-to-face, it's going to network meetings, introducing yourself as an author. Wow. I tell you what, when you introduce yourself as an author, people sit up. Doesn't matter what, but people like that term author because it means that you are a next step more than someone else who hasn't got a book. Perceptions. It's all perceptions in our world. And that means that you become an influencer and an expert because you've got a book that showcases that. And that means setting up and doing some little introductions. When you're speaking at network meetings, it means, yes, I know, introverts, not easy, but it means taking 60 seconds of insane courage. And if someone says to you, could you like to introduce yourself, whether it's at a face-to-face network meeting or on Zoom meeting, you take a deep breath and say yes. And you step up and say, hi, I'm Trish. I'm currently writing my first book, my second book, my third book. Really excited about it. It's all about this. And this is one of my passions, and it's been a fantastic journey. Love to have a conversation with you. 3 sentences. But you are now introducing yourself as an author, and you're starting to get used to speaking. Are you ever going to get over those nerves? Probably not. But that's great, because you want to be nervous, because that gets the adrenaline going, which gets the connection going. But the more you get up and speak and do little things like that on video, on introductions, the more comfortable you're going to get. Then there's writing articles, being a podcast guest, something like this. One of the things that's really important is when your book's published or getting very close to publishing, is putting yourself out there, searching for some podcasts that have got the readers that you are looking for, the people in your niche, your best people that would love your book, and saying, yes, I'd like to be a podcast guest. And I help you do that, help you put together your guest one sheet and your speaker one sheet, all the things that you need. Now, you don't have to do everything, because some things will work more for you for one particular book or the other. But I can tell you, there is one thing you must do, and that is step into the spotlight and say, here's my book. Because if you don't, you're being selfish, and the person who needs it isn't going to get it.
Yeah. So does that mean that you have to also start building your platform, or have a ready-made platform to talk to these people? How do people go about doing that?
Okay, the simplest one would be to have a Facebook group or a Facebook business page. Now, I probably go Facebook business page. I have one as Trish Springsteen author. That's the simplest thing. Everybody can open a Facebook business page, open up your author page, and that's where you can start sharing some of your journey on there, some of the covers, and you can let people know how you're going. And from there, you can share it onto your personal profile. Always share it onto your personal profile. Don't write on your personal profile first. Write on your author page and share from there to your personal profile. Join groups like you've got other groups of writers and that. Get to connect with them, because you'll pick up hints and ideas, and they'll support you. If you've got a website, that would be the next one. Depending where you're going, you can have a website, just a couple of pages, and you can do it yourself, or Wix, or Weebly, or you can go the full thing and get someone to do your website. But if you're going to be writing a book, when you've got that, you want it up on your website. I have on my website my book page. People can buy directly from that. If you're going to do a book and you do just an ebook, even a print book, you want it up on Amazon. No word of a lie, people. Amazon is an enormously humongous search engine, and people will search for topics. So you want your book up there. You can get someone else to help you, or you can do it. There are ways. If you're going to be up on Amazon, then you definitely need an author's page, because people will want to follow you. So you need to put your author's page up. Goodreads. Get an author's page on Goodreads. People search a lot of things on Goodreads, and that links. So these are some of the things. Do you have to do them all at once? No. Don't panic. What did I say? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you get yourself on your platforms? One platform at a time, one step at a time, and find a good mentor like Shoma, like myself, someone who's going to help and guide you and support you in accountability and point you in the right direction. So you need to be on those. You would want maybe to have a YouTube channel. That may or may not be where you want to be, but if you're going to be doing some nice videos, some book promotion videos, you want it up on YouTube. It's another great search engine. And what I'm saying is repurpose and leverage. You do not have to do new content all the time. You can repurpose one video. You can repurpose a Facebook Live that you do. Save always. If you're not doing this and you're doing any Facebook Lives at all, save them to your desktop, because you can repurpose from that desktop up to YouTube, onto LinkedIn, into Instagram. You can chop and change them, put them together. So it's looking at what you've already got and repurposing where you can put that somewhere else. That's basically the things that I would be looking at and doing them. And you don't have to do them all at once, but pick one. At least have a Facebook author page.
Yeah. And so if these people who, ready to become authors, I hate the word aspiring authors, because once you're writing, you're already an author. So There's nothing about aspiring. You are or you're not.
I just call them to be published authors.
Exactly.
Work in progress.
So if they reach out to you, you will take them through that whole journey once they've written the book. At what stage does a person approach you?
Even if they're starting writing their book, they can work with me, because we can work on, little things about getting those snippets out and doing that.
So even while they're writing the book?
Even while they're writing it, we may not work full on, but we could do something like that. And my book marketing club is for soon to be published. So even then you can work with me, but most people will come probably when they've just sent it off to the editor and it's close to being published, because then we're starting to plan book launches, and I help people work on their book launches both. I've done book launches both face-to-face and I've done virtual book launches. I actually MC book launches for people who want to be that. So it's part of a package that I do about either MCing it, or I can MC and help you plan your presentations at the book launch as well. It's all different things.
You've just taken away my last question, which was, how do you suggest a virtual book launch?
Okay, you should be planning your book launch, as I said, probably as soon as you've sent it off to the editor and started the publishing process. If not even before that, a little bit, starting the hints, but at least when you've got a bit of an idea when you're going to have your physical book or when it's going to be ready, you can plan out. And then it's a matter of looking, what sort of book launch do you want? Now, I've just said, with these interesting times, I've done two book launches at the moment, and attended a few others, are virtual ones. And you can still have an awesome time doing a book launch virtual. You pick a date, pick a time, and then there's a variety of ways of doing it. Some people will charge an amount to come to the book launch, but for that, each person that comes gets a copy of the book. Others will say, the book launch is free, but you can only get the copy of the book at a certain price during that book launch. Some of it, people will do the main things that you would normally have, and I do either way. I've done either way. Sometimes I like to do a one price, and I give them a copy of the book to take away with them, plus maybe a couple of little extra things that I might put into their nice goodie bag. I do that quite a bit, because then I know I'm getting sales of my book and people are going to come. Now, you can do book launches for free. Then it's a bit tricky, because you don't know. People say they'll come, but sometimes they don't turn up. You can charge a small amount, because you might want to, if you're doing face-to-face, you may want to have catering. You might want to at least have a glass of champagne or some apple juice or something, because you want to celebrate it. But they can be as simple or as complex as you want. It's a matter of sitting down and saying, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? Who do I want to reach? But I'll tell you what you do. You always have a book launch, because it's a party, people. It's a celebration. It's not something to be feared about. Do you speak at the book launch? Normally, yes. Normally, I would say you want to share your story. You would have someone who would MC the launch for you, or a friend, or as I said, I charge for that, but something I can do. There's also, you would speak. You may have your publisher speak. If you've got someone who's published for it, you would ask your publisher to speak. Then you might ask one or two people. Now, if you've had someone do the forward for you or do an introduction to your book, you might ask them to come and share a few words about it, and maybe a friend. So it doesn't have to be huge, but you probably have about 3 or 4 people speaking, and they don't have to be long. I love it when the author speaks, but sometimes if it's really, really hard, you can get someone to speak on your behalf. But you need to have a book launch, and it's better if you speak, because who knows your book better than you? Who is more excited about your book than you? Share that excitement, share the fun. You don't have to be perfect. Do you know what? I've done over 15, 20 years of speaking, talking to fellow speakers, been having guests on my podcasts, and I've always asked when I've had guests, what makes a great speaker? And the top 2 things, it's usually in the top 2 or 3, someone who shares their story and someone who is genuine and authentic. Absolutely. So you don't have to be polished. You just have to open up and share your story and share what was so exciting for you and why you wanted to write your book. The polish is great. We can take that, we can give you a structured bit, and that just takes you to another level. But you just need to be genuine and open, because people want to hear about you. They're not going to mark you down because you didn't put a good opening, or you didn't put a good closure, or you didn't walk around, or you froze or something. They're going to forgive you that. I mean, that's good to polish it, and you want to be able to do that. But the best thing and the first thing you want to do is to be able to share your baby, share your story, share being genuine.
And if you're feeling too scared, just do a reading. Open the book and read it.
Yeah. Oh, I would always say to share from your book.
Yeah.
Share at least 2 or 3 paragraphs, a small chapter, something from your book, because that's your teaser, and that's what you're going to entice people to do. And always have your book for sale there. Give them a special price. And you can still do that on a virtual one. There's ways of doing it.
Yeah.
As I said again, you just need to decide which sort of launch suits you, your personality, the clients, the readers that you want to reach. Do you charge and give them a book away? Do you do a small amount, or do you make it free? Whichever way you go, have a book launch. It's a celebration party.
Absolutely. I'm just going to dial back a little bit here. It's something I forgot to ask you, really. In today's state of, almost all of us are self-publishing. I come from the old era where, even until a few years ago, I was for traditional publishing because there was a set standard. There was, a lot of things there. But today, even I'm telling people go self-publish just because it's quicker. You're not waiting months and years. One of the things that I find because of this, the downside is that just about anybody and everybody is writing without getting it edited. And I know you mentioned when you send it off to your editors. So can you give our viewers a little bit of your thoughts on how important it is to get your book well edited and polished before you put it out there to the world? Because it's so easy. I can just create a Word document, put it up on Amazon and there, $2.99 or whatever I'm selling it. But if it's crap, that's the last thing you want.
The difference between a book and an author and an awesome book, an awesome author, an influencer, someone who will have followers, is the editing.
Absolutely.
There's no 2 ways. You can get by with a title that may not quite work. You can get by with a cover, well, very hard. The cover's probably the second best thing, because whenever people say you can't judge a book by a cover, that's a lot of hogwash, really. People will buy books by covers. There's just no 2 ways about it. People look at it, and that's the first thing that gets them. But an editing, if you pick up a book that had the best title, the best cover, and you open it up and you start to read it, and the editing is not there, it's all over the place, there's no flow, it just doesn't work, they're going to close it and walk away. And you have immediately lost whatever credibility that you have put into the time and effort to get that book. And it will take just as much time and effort for you to do that, because you've had to write it, and you've had to open up your soul, and you've had to put it down, and you've immediately lost that credibility. So if nothing else, get it edited, get it properly edited. And it doesn't have to be expensive, but you need an editor that is a good editor. And you need one who's going to do it in your language.
Yes.
If you're writing in English, you want a good, reasonable editor in English, because people are going to be reading it. If you're writing in French, for your French, you're going to want an editor who's French. It's no good getting an English editor to write. It's not going to work. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work. So whatever, get an editor to look at it. And you can get them for about $350, can go up. It depends how much editing they do, how much they have to do. And even before you go to an editor, if you want to try and cut down a little bit and give a little bit less work for the editor, get some beta readers. Have someone else read, at least 1 or 2 people, and not you. Because when we've been writing our books as an author, and we've been putting those words down, and then we go back to read them, we get a sort of, I don't know, amnesic blindness, I call it. I mean, we can read it 5 times and not see, because we're putting the words in from our minds. It's our words. So you immediately get someone else to read it. If nothing else, to start with, get a beta reader or someone else to read it. And then take those corrections, the flow, and then go to an editor. If you do that, the editing is probably not going to be as much. But if an editor starts with something from scratch that is absolutely, it's the longer the time they have, the more expensive it's going to be. So make it a bit easy for them. But do not go without editing. I plead with you. Don't do it. You've got a freaking awesome book. Give it the best birthing that you can.
Thank you for saying that. That is, more validating what I keep saying, because I'm a professional editor.
Yeah.
For God's sake, polish your work. Don't put up half-baked words there, because every author writes, even Hemingway, his first draft was probably, he himself said that it was crap, and he had it, you polish and polish and polish. It's like any art, really.
Oh, is it going to be perfect? I can guarantee you there's very few books I know, and even the ones that have gone to the best publishers who have enormously brilliant editors, there'll be a few things that will creep by because it just happens. But one or two little things, people are not going to worry. But no. Page after page, where, especially when you do spell check and it picks up words that, hey, the spelling sounds good, but the meaning is completely different. And that can be really wrecking your words. So I can't help, Shermo's right. Get a good editor, edit it. Beta reader, then editor.
Absolutely. So we're coming up to the hour now, and what shall we leave our readers with? I'll leave it up to you to tell them, close it all up in a nutshell, and tell us what you have to say.
Look, this is from someone who for many, many years didn't think they could speak. And then in many, many years didn't think they could write. And why am I so passionate about speaking and writing now? I'm passionate about speaking because I believe speaking and communication underpins everything we do in our life. From going to work, starting your business, talking to your children, talking to your partners, just even going and talking to clients. It underpins every single thing. And if you can speak well and have good communication skills, you are one step ahead of everybody else. And when you go to your writing, you take your speaking and you turn it into writing. I am a firm believer of books as a legacy. Every single one of us has a story. And I know some people out there are going to say, but I don't have a story. You know what? I didn't think I had a story either. Your story does not have to be climbing Mount Everest with one leg. It doesn't have to be losing all your money and then starting several businesses and being a billionaire. Your story is your life, your expertise, your life experiences, knowledge, who you are now. And that needs to be heard because there are people out there who need to resonate with that. Not everybody resonates with those who are absolutely doing awesome freaking stories and motivating and all good, and they're brilliant books to read. But we all need to hear other stories, family stories, people's stories. Everybody has a story. That's from someone who thought they never did, and I did. I found I have a story because there are people who want to resonate with my stories, and there'll always be people out there. People will never throw a book away. They will never throw a book away. They'll throw business cards away. They'll throw pamphlets away. But a book won't get thrown away. It may sit on the shelf. It may get just browsed through. They may not read it all to cover, but they may pick up little bits and read what they need to read. It will get passed on to someone else. It may end up in a secondhand bookstore. But do you know what is so freaking powerful, people? What you don't realize is 50 years down the track, 60 years down the track, someone who you don't even know, who's never even heard of you. And if you think I'm being, over the top there, how many of you picked up books that are 100 years old, that are still out there, 60 years old, 70 years old, that are making a message and a footprint? Your book in 50 years could be something that someone picks up from a secondhand bookstore, from somebody that's been passed down in the family, and someone opens that book and reads your words that makes an impression, that's a legacy. And if you let your fear of speaking, your fear of writing, not knowing what to say stop you, then you're depriving someone 60 years down the track who may pick up your book and read it. And that's why I'm passionate about books, because it is a legacy. It's a legacy for family memoir. I mean, how often have you sat around at the Christmas table talking about your family and all the stories that happen, and you think, wow, there's my grandmother's stories, I need to get them down, and one day it's too late. That person's gone and you haven't got the stories. So gather those stories now. And you know what? It's never too late. My mother's 85 years old. She is writing the stories because she's always wanted to write. And I've said to her, you write the stories, Mum, and I'll publish them. And it doesn't matter for her. It's not about out there. It's about getting something that she's always wanted to do in here. And it's about the family having that legacy when she goes. So a book is a legacy for your imagination, for your creativity, for your knowledge, for your life experiences, for your expertise. Whether it's poetry, children's books, whether it's fiction, non-fiction, just write that book. Don't deprive someone from your words.
That's just so powerful. And you know, it reminds me of the saying that I say in almost every 5 minutes, really, is this African chieftain who said to me, whenever an elder dies, a library burns to the ground. And that is just so true. Everybody has a story, no matter what they think. And it's what you said, it's a legacy. Like, and why a book? That's what I keep telling people is, you know, why not Instagram stories and why not video clips? It's because once a book is archived in the National Library of that country, it's going to live forever. Like you say, you know, 50 years, 100 years down the line, we're not going to be there. But our younger generations, our families are, you know, they're going to, and it's history caught in time. It's how we've lived. It's our stories which will live on forever.
Absolutely.
So powerful. Thank you so much, Trish, for sharing. And it's been amazing talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much for the opportunity to share my passions, I guess, which is speaking, communicating,
Yeah,
writing.
absolutely. It comes through. Absolutely. You're so passionate. And we will put all our links, all of Trish's, how you can reach out to her in the post, or when this goes on my website, it'll go on the website or YouTube channel. So everyone will be able to grab and reach out to Trish because she's just amazing. So thank you so much. And we will, let's hope this goes a long way and people write more books.
Absolutely. There's my challenge. Write, speak, and write.
Absolutely.
Bye.